one of the things I get asked about is how do I practice using Git, GitHub, VS Code, and Trailhead all at the same time? So that's what we're going to be working on today. I've got Trailhead open. I do have my repo, I'm signed into GitHub here, and then I have VS Code, and I don't have anything open here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in VS Code. We're going to connect to a brand new Trailhead org, and we're going to kind of walk through what I would do as I did the work for a trail, and kind of how I would set that up. And so it'd be good practice for you as you kind of go through this. So let's go ahead and kind of get started. The first thing we're going to do is create a new Trailhead org, so a hands-on org. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click Create Playground. I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. Cunning Panda is great, but that's not going to be the one that I'm going to use. All right, Trailhead and GitHub Playground. Let's go ahead and create. While that's working, let's jump back over to VS Code. Inside of VS Code, I need to start somewhere. I need to have a project going, and we need to make it a SFDX, Salesforce DX project. And so we're going to do Command-Shift-P. I like to create a project with manifest. There's not a whole lot of difference between the create project and create project with manifest. I like having a manifest just in case I need it. So I'm going to click on that. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to work. This is the third time I've clicked on it. There we go. I'm going to do standard. Give us a name, Trailhead GitHub practice, and press enter. All right, I'm going to put this on my desktop, GitHub demo, and I'm just going to go ahead and create the project here. It's going to give it its own name and create the folder. It's going to open it up as well. So now that I've done this, I'm going to ignore that. You're going to see that this is going to eventually just kind of develop some stuff. It's going to have some information down here about Salesforce and some of the connections it has. And so we're just going to wait for that to happen. All right, so it's loaded up. I can tell it's loaded up because I've got all sorts of information down here. I've got my default org. That's a default org. That's a long, long time ago Scratch org I made. So we're not going to worry about that. We're actually going to create a new connection to our new one in just a moment. But we have this information here. We've got all of this, and this is going to be what we're going to be using and we're going to be leveraging out of. We're going to be working with this environment. So we've got all of this stuff here, and then we're going to be doing that inside of Salesforce right here. And it's still working on this, so let's go ahead and work on the Git stuff that we need to do. So in terminal, you can see it says test output. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to click this drop down area, and I want to bash terminal or a ZSH, a zesh. But here I'm going to type in git init. I'm not going to press enter yet because I want to double check. I am in the folder I want this to happen. And what I'm doing is I want to initialize Git. I want to say, hey, I want you to start paying attention, tracking, and keeping control of all of what's going on right here. So I'm going to type in git init, and I'm going to press enter. It initialized this, so it started right there. And you can see we do have it now. It says master. So now we have a master branch, and it's added all of these things to this list over here because it's tracking now the source control for this project. So now I have that. Now this is only on my local. We have not copied it and put it up in the cloud yet for other people to be able to see or for it to even pop up on my repos. I don't even have it over here yet because we haven't pushed anything. We haven't done any of that stuff yet. Now I check over into my org and it is created. Hooray. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that org. And then nice enough, they have that little spot right there that you can get your login credentials. You actually need those to be able to authorize most cases. Maybe you are like me and you have an older email in there, so I actually have to go click on this, click on settings, click on advanced user details. I'm going to edit and change that email. I'm going to get a warning. And now I actually have to go to my email and update that and confirm that that change is correct. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go back to getting your login credentials. You can see that it updated the email there because I have done that on my email. And now I can go and click reset my password. Okay, I've reset my password. I went and logged out and confirmed that I can log back in. So yay, success there. And now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and authorize this org inside of VS Code, and basically just making the connection between VS Code and Salesforce. And again, we're using our Trailhead org for practice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to triple click here to get this URL because that's the easiest way for us to connect. I'm going to click over here, click on this down here, change default. It may say no default org. If you click on it, you can see authorize an org. Another way to pull that up, Control Shift P, SFDX, and you can see authorize an org there. You just type in authorize, and you'll see authorize an org. That's what we want to do. We're going to do custom URL, and I'm going to type in https / and I'm going to paste that link that I just copied, that information, right? So for me, it was this. I type in, I press enter. I'm going to name this Trailhead GitHub. I'm going to press enter. It is going to reach out to the internet and try to sign me into that org. I'm going to type in my username and password. Once I do, I'm going to have allow access. I'm going to click allow. And I am in. And if I come back over here, you will see an authorization successful. And it has the name down there. It's also great as I can click on that button. It'll open that org going forward. So if I click on that, it'll send the information over to Chrome, which is my browser, and then it will pop open that link. So I've got it saved in there, and it's got an access that I can jump in and out of as needed. So cool. I've got those taken care of. I've got that set up. Now that I have those set up, I'm going to go ahead and commit the changes that were here. So I'm going to commit those changes. And again, this is just bundling all these together into a commit, which is a just kind of like an envelope. We're going to take that and we're going to put that together as one envelope that's going to be going to our Git repo, and we're going to put that into the cloud. So I'm going to type in, this is a init of this. This is going on the master, so I'm just going to go ahead and type in init. I'm going to stage all those changes. So I click the little plus sign there, and I'm going to click commit. And then I'm going to publish that branch, and that's when it's going to push it to the cloud. Okay, for me, I need to go ahead and sign in using GitHub. It gives me the option here. I want to do a private or a public. I'm going to go ahead and do a public repository. It's doing some work down there and successfully published. If I come back over here and I refresh, I see 45, and I see the new one that I just created. And there it is with all the information and the most recent commit, which was init. So I have that there. And so now I've connected them. I have this all in this, this bit of work right here. So how are we going to organize this? How are we going to structure this? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to, inside of here, right? So I have my master branch. I've got the work right here. We need to think about kind of how I want this to be done. And so I'm going to create a new branch from, and I'm going to type in practice 2022. And so this will be for all practice I do in the year of 2022. And then for next year, I'll create another one similar to a release, right? So we've got, this will be for practice 2022, and it'll be working. And then any practice that I do going forward, I can add that in there as well. Doesn't really follow the release model as beautifully as you would like, but this is going to give us practice to do with working inside of VS Code, inside of Trailhead, and inside of GitHub. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. I'm going to clone this. There's not many options. They're all actually the exact same ID number. You can see that at the end. But I'm going to use origin master. I want you to go and grab what was in the master and the cloud, and I want you to basically file save as that, and that's what I'm going to be working from. I'm going to work from there. Okay, and so this is going to be kind of our starting point. Right, there's nothing actually in there except for the base information. All right, this is one of my favorite Trailhead, just kind of little projects here. We're going to build a battle station. We're just going to be doing no code required, so it's going to be all declarative practice. And we're going to be using an org to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click create the battle station app. And we would get started on this. And so what I'm going to do is pretend like I'm going to go through this But before I do any work, I want to go ahead and do the GitHub process to create a branch for this work. And think about this Trailhead project as a user story, a Jira item. So before I go ahead and create a new branch from this, I'm going to push this up to the cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and push. It's going to push it up there. So now there's a copy of it in the cloud. I'm going to click on Practice 2022, create a new branch from. I'm going to type in feature 2022, right? So 2022 because it's going to be going into this branch. So eventually it's going to be merged into 2022 practice branch. And then I'm going to put a title, right? Build a battle station. And I'm going to press enter. And I want to create it from the origin practice, right? The one that it's going to be feeding into. So if this is a release branch, it'd be the release that it's going to go into. Because we're doing practice by the year, then we're going to be going off of that. So I'm going to click on that one. And now I have my new branch created. And this new branch is just local. Notice that we do have a cloud here that we haven't pushed a copy of it up to the cloud yet. So it is just on my local, and any changes I do here are just going to be on my computer. So if something happened to my computer, they would be gone. But if I publish it or I commit and then publish it, then it would be up in the cloud and I'd be able to acquire it any way I needed to. All right, so I'm going to go through and let's do a couple of these little changes here. All right, I've done the work. I've done the battle station, first section. One of the things we want to do is, so I've made those declarative changes inside the org. There's no changes here. So what I need to do is I actually need to go and grab those from the org. And so I'm going to use this as my reference of kind of knowing what I need to go and grab. So I'm going to scroll down. One of the things I did was I created a custom object. So I need to go get that custom object. I'm going to click on the org browser. So it still has the old org up there. It's going to take a second to update. There we go. Custom objects. There's Battle Station right there. I'm going to download that. Actually, right here, we did custom objects tabs. I need to go find the tab. Custom tabs. Battle Station, there it is. Create Battle Station Construction Apps. I need to go in there and grab the application. There it is, our first one. Let's go ahead and download that. Now that we have downloaded the information that we needed, like the changes that we made inside the org, we've actually brought them in. You can actually open this up and see the little dot right there. So application, we got our app. We got our custom object. It actually pulls down the list view as well. We didn't have anything there. We actually didn't have any fields. Otherwise, those would be there as well. And then tabs, there's our tab. And actually look at it and you're like, oh, wow, there's interesting stuff. All right, we got our custom object. That's got a whole lot of things that, may not make sense to us. We're not too worried about that right now. You can see down here we got enable feeds. That's turned on for us. And then we are tracking the field history on that one, which is cool. So all that stuff is in there. We have this. If we come over to our source control, we will see that there is a change here. And what I will do is I'm going to go back over to this one. And just looking down here, we've got 5 different steps. So we're actually going to name this commit, right? This state and time that we want to capture. I'm just going to copy that, create the Battle Station app, and I'm going to use that as my commit message. So I'm going to, boom, create the Battle Station app. I'm going to commit that after I stage it. That'd be a nice thing. Commit that. So now it has that message. And since I haven't published it yet, I can either click this one over here, click it down there, and then it will publish this to our feature branch. Okay, you will see that we have a feature 2022 Battle Station, create the Battle Station app. So we do have that commit. If I click on that commit, you will see all the things that I added, right? Those 4 items that I added and what they look like. Doesn't mean a whole lot. It's kind of like the inside of a sock, right? It's a whole bunch of things. You're like, what is happening? All these strings are going everywhere. But on the outside, it makes sense. So underneath, it's kind of crazy over here. But we've got that. We've done step 1. And so we would go into step 2. We would build the object model. All right, I've only done step one. I just want to save some time here, but we'll go and done step one. And now that I've done that, I've done it in the org. So you can see it's completed in the org. Right, so I do have the project status pick list. Then if I come over here to the objects, I'm going to right click and I'm going to retrieve source from org. I'm just going to pull down. You can see it just added the fields folder because we have a new field. So all the standard fields were already included on there. This new field is there, and that changes here. And so I can just take that, and I can go ahead and grab. This was part of step one, so I've completed step one. Let's say I need to go grab some lunch, right? I can take this, make this my commit message. Step one completed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stage that, commit it. And now I've done that change, and I'm going to sync those changes up. And if I head on over to here, go back to this, you'll see there has been an update less than a minute ago. If I click on that, you will see it has that new commit message. If I go into this folder, you will see this was changed when that commit came in. This was the last commit that changed that, which was there was nothing in there. That was just part of the base template. A folder structure, and then objects, this object was updated last by this commit, and that was 19 seconds ago. So as we continue to practice and continue to work through this, we can create a feature branch for this Trailhead project. Once I'm done with that, I can merge it into, using our merge video that we did, merge it into the practice 2022 branch, and then I can remove this feature branch because I'm done with that, and I can get it out, and all of that history is going to be captured here. And then the next feature I create, I can do that same process again. Feature 2022, if it's still 2022 when I'm doing this. And then I can do the other title for that project, work that project, go back and forth in there, and doing those, practicing the commits, practicing the pushes using Git, the publishing, and all of that, kind of working through that process over and over again. And all in all, I'm working on these changes using Trailhead. I'm inside a Salesforce org doing declarative or programmatic, going back and forth, pushing and pulling, just like I did in the other videos. And then you were also getting practice using GitHub as well. So all of that kind of coming together in this really safe environment where it's just a Trailhead org. So if you need to, you could delete this Trailhead org and it only affects you. This is your personal repo. If you needed to delete this, you could, and it's not going to affect anybody but you. So it's really kind of a nice, safe place for you to go ahead practicing using Salesforce, VS Code, and GitHub.